So, welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, David Streggy. Here I am on Inside Movies Galore with director Michael Viers, locally from Milwaukee. Hello.
Hello, and it's Viers, just so you know.
Viers. Viers. So, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're originally from? Are you originally from Milwaukee?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, down in Bayview. I lived there pretty much my entire life up until I met my now wife Amanda, and we're living out in McGuanago right now. But coming back to Bayview this summer.
Cool. And how did you get involved with filmmaking? Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you began?
Well, the boring story is that I got involved when I was in college. The more well, I wouldn't say entertaining, but the longer-winded version of the story is I discovered my love for film when I was in middle school.
Okay,
And what year did Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds come out?
2005.
You just remembered that off the top of your head. Yeah, 2005. It was one of the first not Blu-rays, DVDs that my family rented upon getting a DVD player, and it was the first time I got to see the behind the scenes of how they were made, and that intrigued me. It's like, for once I could see that it was a tangible thing. It was made by a bunch of people. They didn't just show up, know their lines, and it just the movie came together. I realized that there was people involved with it. It was a big process, and then that kind of is what planted the seed in my brain that, hey, these are made. I wonder if you can learn to make these.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it was a 1-2 punch of George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead, because I remember seeing it on G4, and actually Mark Borchardt was hosting it that night. And I don't mean this in a bad way at all, but I was watching that movie, and at that point, I'd never seen Night of the Living Dead, but I'd seen other zombies in media, and it seemed like super complicated to do. And George just put pancake makeup on a bunch of people and sent them out there, and it's like, well, shit, I can do that. Are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, you're more than welcome to.
And then so shit, I could do that. And then it was what finally made me decide to go to film school was John Carpenter's Halloween.
Okay, so I see here that your first film that you kind of did was and correct me if I'm wrong, if I get the year wrong, but from 2011, where you did Shades of Pride. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how you got involved in that project?
Shades of Pride was a film school project. Normally, I kind of make it a habit not to include film school projects on like a resume or on IMDb. The only reason I did with that is because it did get a little bit of traction. I think I was a sophomore when I made that in film school, and it played at the UWM Film Festival, which is whatever, but it played at a couple smaller festivals, nothing that I can remember the name of. I think they were maybe like 1 year only type festivals or whatnot, or smaller festivals, and so it got a little bit of traction. I wrote it as a tribute to my grandfather, because it's based on a true story of a situation he went through with some government officials, where he kind of spooked them off his land with a rifle, actually of a shotgun, because my grandfather lives in the Appalachian Mountain Range in Virginia, and it's kind of a different world down there. But I wrote the script. I kind of softened the character because my grandfather definitely wasn't the hero in that story. He's been kind of a jerk, all things considered. And yeah, I wanted to try out drama. And it's funny, at this point, I think I've made more dramas than I have horror, but I'm a little more known for the horror scene.
Okay. So, where did you shoot that? Did you shoot that in Wisconsin somewhere?
I believe the farm is in Caledonia.
Okay.
A good friend of mine, Nico Aldrich, he's a Wisconsin-based filmmaker who lives in California right now. I was struggling finding a farm. I was actually just driving to farms and asking for permission to shoot on their property, and no one would allow me because, I don't blame them. It's kind of a weird thing to ask.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, "Hey, my family's got a farm. Do you want to shoot there?" And yeah, it's worked itself out.
Cool. And how did you go about and find some of your actors that you?
I don't know if they still have it, but at the time, UWM had an actors
Okay.
database, in which local talent could come together, record a monologue, and put it out there on the internet for filmmakers to see.
Kind of like
And
a headshot type of thing, or
yeah, but with a video, and
oh,
I unfortunately cannot remember the name of the actor I originally cast, but for all intents and purposes, he did a great audition. But when we actually got on set, he had some demons he was struggling with and couldn't remember any of his lines. And we had to throw that entire day of shooting down the drain. Uh, but however, through that database, I had met Guy Hollering and Linda Seaslick, who are two actors I've worked with a couple times. And they, Linda specifically suggested, hey, I know this guy named Patrick Beck who could play this role perfectly. And I met with Patrick and I kind of told him, all things considered, I'm gonna go with you because I'm kind of in a bind, but I wanted to get to know what his personality was like, and we both saw the character the same way, had a lot of the same influences, and we said, "Hell, let's do this." And you know, the
cool,
film was made.
cool. And from what I see, in 2013, you also did from the Darkness Theater. How about you tell us a little bit how you got involved with that short film?
That one was my senior thesis project in film school,
Okay.
and to an extent, probably the film I'm still best known for. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. Um, it's the idea. It was just an inkling of an idea I had in my brain, and where I have always been and still am obsessed with the idea of a horror host because it's so weirdly Americana that
Mhm.
the idea of it is very appealing to me. And two of my big influences in film are Vincent Price, specifically The Abominable Dr. Phibes,
Mhm.
and the film Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. And I kind of wrote this weird amalgamation of the two of them, and it was also inspired by the William Lustig film Maniac. And I knew I had a chance where I could make something bigger scope. So I kind of just threw all of my influences into a pot and threw it against a wall and saw it stick, and it became a really strange little movie that's because it's gotten some attention. It played at the Cannes Film Festival as well as Trauma Dance. Two very different opposite ends of the spectrum. Um, and one thing that I've really been impressed by is the people that have seen it. Like, of course, Lloyd Kaufman saw it because he's a buddy of mine at this point,
Okay.
and I kind of convinced him to see it, and he played at the film festival and whatnot. So, but then Joe Bob Briggs actually gave it a really good review. David Lowery, the director of Anthem Body Saints and Peach Dragon, he saw it and he really liked it. So it's kind of had legs
Nice.
of its own.
Nice. And how did you get involved with, or how did you go about and find your cast members for that short film? Did you go through the same database?
Um, Actually, how it came to it stemmed from the database, because I worked with Linda Seaslick again on that one. She played a bit part, but still kind of an important role.
Okay.
And when I was auditioning for Shades of Pride, I met an actor by the name of Michael Denk,
Okay.
and he was a very popular face. I'd seen him in a lot of things, and because he has a very striking visage. Um, if you had to describe him, I'd say he's a man that has poetry in his eyes because he's got a very specific look. And I told him when I was casting Shades of Pride, it's like, you are not right for this role, but I want to work with you. And I said, I'm gonna write something for you. And he probably rolled his eyes and was like, yeah, whatever. And I wrote From the Darkness Theater specifically for him, knowing kind of his talents and where it lies. And then a combination between him and Linda, I found the rest of my cast members.
Okay. And where did you end up shooting from the Darkness Theater? Did you have a studio that you were working from, or?
A couple places, actually. The studio scene from the very beginning, where we pull out from his horror host set. That horror host set was built.
Okay.
A former person I worked with quite a bit, Veronica Handelin, she built that set out of styrofoam and built that coffin. The painting was done by a really talented artist I know named Bree Biddle, and then the actual like studio was just UWM. It was our a lighting classroom because it's set up like an actual studio because we have to learn how to do studio lighting. So that worked out perfectly. And the theater was actually the Times Cinema when they were still going through renovations. Linda
Okay.
worked for that theater group at the time, got me in contact with the owner, and he said, "Yeah, come on down and shoot something." So we shot there. The office was done at the Miramar Theater in Pinkerton Xyloma's office from the Dead Man's Carnival.
Nice.
And then the house stuff was actually done in my mom's house. So it was we had all things considered, we had a lot of locations.
Okay. So, but altogether, using all the different locations, it turned out to be a well-rounded film. Did now? How has your relationship been with your actors? By the way, I know some directors do something different each time. How do you go about and you know uh, how is your relationship with them as you go through your film directing?
Well, I guess if you want to know my relationship with the actors, you'd have to ask them what they thought of me. But um, it's working with actors is one of those things that at the end of the production is when you feel the most confident, and that's when you're about to wrap. And then every time I've started a new project, mainly because there's been gaps in my filmography, that it's
Mhm.
always like I'm trying to relearn how to do it and learn from previous mistakes. My big thing is I try to cast the right actor for the character,
Mhm.
knowing and trusting that they're gonna be able to bring something to the part, something I saw in them, and then just kind of tweaking it from there. I don't like to do line readings on I've only had to do it like maybe once or twice, and if I'm looking for a very specific reading and I can't get it and it's important to me for some reason, but I usually just try to let the actors be and kind of and get them in the correct headspace to do what they've got to do.
Okay, cool. Uh, Also in 2013, I see you did another short film called "Love You Still." How did you get involved with that project?
I got spooked at the end of film school. I had a professor that said to us, and it was probably a scare tactic in a good way to try to motivate us, because he started off the classroom by saying 70% of you will never make another movie after senior year. And
Okay,
that freaked me to hell, like because I started my second semester of senior year with a film in the can, when realistically how UWM was set up was your first semester was pre-production, second semester you go off and shoot. I had already shot everything, so I was pretty much just editing at that point, and it freaked me out that, oh, I might not make anything else. I need to set myself up with a project. And at the time, Milwaukee Film was doing a really great program called Collaborative Cinema, and how that worked. And I was actually a member of it back when I was in high school. How it works is local high school students write a script to the best of their ability. They don't have to have any knowledge, and you submit it to the collaborative cinema program, and they've got a group of judges who read all of the scripts and narrow it down to like 180 something, maybe even less than that. They narrow it down, and they bring those students in who've got an inkling of talent and teach them how to actually write a screenplay, how to do it how to do it right, how to tell your ideas visually. And then from there, they go back and write their scripts. They once they submit the new drafts, the judges pick 10. From that 10, they find an established or up and coming filmmaker in Milwaukee to direct the film. So you get to read all 10, then you have to go in and pitch your idea for which one you want to make. I went in and pitched the story of Love You Still. At the time, since I was getting a lot of traction for From the Darkness Theater, I was playing all the horror festivals. Anytime I did an interview was about horror, which I'm not complaining, but still, there was two scripts that stuck out to me. There was one that all things considered could have been a lot of fun. It was very much a Leave It to Beaver style script about a family of cannibals.
okay,
And then there was Love You Still, which was a kind of a heartfelt, touching drama. And I thought I could go for the low hanging fruit and go for the family of cannibals and do something really cool and really fun with it. Or I can show that I've got range and go with the drama. So that's the one I chose. I went in and pitched it. They selected me and we went off to the races. They supplied me with a team, a budget, and I just really had to make sure I knew how to direct that film.
Cool. Um, Now, did you film that film in Wisconsin or?
We did. I don't remember exactly where the cabin was located. We kind of
Okay.
stumbled upon it. Me and the producer Susan Kearns. We were driving trying to find a good location, and we stumbled upon it. It was in someone's backyard. We asked if we could take a look at it, and we found it. And like it was a dump inside of there. Like there's mud up to your ankles. There was nothing in there. But we thought there was charm to it if we can clean it up. And our team actually went in 24 hours, got it cleaned up, completely furnished it. None of that furniture was in that cabin, and we did it all from the ground up. And then all the
May I ask how long you shot the films in?
3 days.
Far? 3 days.
And
Cool.
we couldn't shoot any nights because of we had high schoolers on set to learn. It was the runner-ups for the collaborative cinema program. They were on set to learn. Not having nights worried me a little bit because you've seen the film, correct?
Yeah, I've seen Love You Still from the Darkness Theater, Shades of Pride, and Do You Love Me so far from you. The only one that I haven't seen is the directionals. Which eventually I wouldn't mind.
It's on YouTube.
Down the road.
It's on YouTube. Yeah. But well, you remember in Love You Still, there's some night scenes, and we had to completely fake all that because we weren't allowed to shoot at night. So it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday that we shot. And the beach was actually all at was down in South Shore Park, the beach over there.
Okay. And how did you find your actors once again?
Well, Collaborative Cinema sent out a casting call, and from there, I got to see headshots and everything, and we just had a very long, I want to say 12-hour day of sitting in a room and people coming in and auditioning. I think they used Craigslist and just put a thing out for actors, and they just kind of came in one after another, doing the lines. We kind of gave them a little bit of direction. That's what I always look for. I do care about how the lines are read and what they're two things I look for is one, what are your instincts? Are you playing it safe? Are you taking chances with it? And then
enthusiasm.
Exactly. Like where are you going with it? Someone could do a completely safe reading, and it doesn't mean they're off the table. What I look at next is how well do you take direction? If I give you something to change it up, are you going to do the same exact reading a second time? Are you going to run with it? How malleable are you? That's to me what's most important. I could have someone who could read the lines perfectly, but if they're going to give me the same performance every single take, I didn't want
it. Totally understand. So next, I'm going to ask you about the directionals,
All right.
which you did from 2014, correct?
Yeah, it was the summer. No, it was the October after Love You Still. Yeah, so 2014.
So how did you get involved with that project?
I knew the directionals. I knew the drummer Bob first because I was friends with him and his girlfriend Christina, and they actually were neighbors of mine for a little while. And he was telling me that he's a drummer in a band. I'm like, cool, send me some of your stuff. And I was listening to it, and I really liked it. And I was like, you know what? I'd love to make a music video for you guys. I don't have any money, but I'd love to make a music video. And he got me in contact with the singer Mark, who wrote all the songs, and we just started pitching ideas. And they told me the song, and the way they work is insane because they write more music than they have time to perform. Like by the time that we finished that music video, they had already had another album out. It's not that the music video took a super long time. They just record so much so fast. But we were pitched. They let me listen to the song, and it was called "Never What It Seems." And through just goofy ideas, they came up with "Skateboard Detective." So it's like a old school noir-esque detective on a skateboard. And the music video, that was the base idea of it, and it's changed a lot because we ran into some obstacles throughout the making of it, but we just kind of said fuck it and made something fun and crazy with practically no money.
All righty. And was that shot in Wisconsin or
Yeah, it was all shot in Bayview and a little bit at UWM.
okay, cool. Did you have to go and go fish for an actor to do the skateboard
Actually,
version?
I just told the band to find me someone. I didn't want to go through the whole thing of trying to find an actor who could skateboard because realistically, there's no line readings or anything. So I said, I'm sure you guys know a skateboarder. Find me someone who could skateboard. And the guy they found is a really nice guy. He could skateboard. He wasn't as confident on the board as I was hoping, but we made it work.
Cool. And let's see. I'm going to touch on one of your editor credits here.
Okay.
Called Mart. How did
Okay.
how did you get involved with that?
Well, at the time, I was doing editing for hire work, and I was working with a local shooter and photographer by the name of Mike Krakowski.
Okay.
And we just had to create a friendship at that point. And he said that him and his business partner, Helen, needed someone. They were working on a film, and without going into the politics of it, they needed a new editor on the film. And they asked if I'd be interested in doing it. And they, and I told them sure. I took some time off of work, and they told me they wanted me to do a completely from the ground up re-edit of the film, cut some time out, help the pacing, and because they had funded the film and it just wasn't turning out the way they were hoping for, so they had me come in and re-edit it.
Cool. And has that film ever seen the light in any way, shape, or form?
I don't know what happened to that film. I know it played at a couple festivals.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's available online. I haven't heard.
Gotcha.
I know it like honestly, like once I finished my edit, it was kind of out of my hands.
Cool. I'm gonna touch on another film called Don't Fall in Love. How did you get involved with that film?
That was a project I was involved in college. I was looking for ways to get some experience on set, and I met a filmmaker named Josh Kellerman, who was setting out to make his first feature film. Okay. And it was a hobbled together group of people. And I started off as just kind of a production assistant. I was on set all the time, just doing whatever I could. And then I started filling in a cinematographer and shooter days where the cinematographer couldn't be there because we had to keep shooting, and it was just a very weird collaborative effort, but it got made, and it was so long ago. I don't know what all to talk about because I did so much on that film and it spanned over a year, but to my knowledge, I don't think the film is widely available. I've got a copy of it. I know it was playing a couple festivals. I don't know. I haven't talked to Josh enough to see if it's gotten a DVD or anything. Cool. Yeah, that was a fun little film. It's rough around the edges, and I've told Josh that, so it's no secret. the direction of it, all things considered, is really well. He found some good actors, and I feel like that's what really saves it. Mm-hmm. Why it's rough around the edges is just because we had an inconsistent crew. You know, whoever was available recorded sound instead of having a sound recordist. And, you know, I've told everyone this. I'm not much of a shooter. I'm not much of a DP, but I shot a small chunk of that film. Like, okay. So visually it was, you know.
So you worked extensively on the film.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think I've actually got points on the back end of that film, which is weird because I don't have points on anything. But but I don't think it's made any money, so it doesn't really matter to me. It was a fun project to do.
Cool. I'm gonna touch on a couple of other small projects. The Surface from 2014.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about that film, just mainly because I started off as a production assistant. I had nothing to do going on that summer. My friend Veronica said, "Hey, I'm doing I think she was doing costuming, or was it make? I don't remember. She was doing something on the film and said, "Hey, they need some extra people. If you're willing to come down and work for free, I'm sure they can bring you on. And I just came down and I struck up a conversation with the with the line producer, and he's like, well, I can't let you work for free, but I can give you something. You come on to set and just do some work. I started as a production assistant, became the assistant to the production designer, and was working hands-on with all the props and making sure everything was screen ready and accurate. And my handwriting appears in the film. It's kind of amusing. But I was working with the props.
Cool. Awesome.
And I got to work with Sean Astin, so that was kind of cool.
How was your experience with dysphoria?
Pass. I don't really want to talk about it.
Totally understand. And
actually, one thing I will say is I met Zach McClain, an actor on that set, and I wouldn't say we're really close, but we've worked together a couple of times, and he's an actor. I've done a little bit of acting on commercials. We've run into each other. Me and him are really friendly towards each other, and I've liked working with him. And he actually does the voiceover at the beginning of my podcast, The Shameless Picture Show. So the best thing to come out of Dysphoria was I got to meet Zach McClain.
Awesome.
Other than that, don't want to talk about it.
Alrighty, and I see you played in the new Batman and Jesus documentary.
I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, I came out to do some acting for it, and I unfortunately couldn't be in much of it because I had to go to work, and we got started so late on past what we were supposed to. I had to leave at one point during the documentary, but I'm told I'm still in it, and I pop up in it, which is kind of cool. I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, cool. It says on IMDb that you play Council of the Bats. So I don't know if that'll mean anything to you down the road.
I know what they're talking about. It's they had a bunch of self-proclaimed Batman nerds sit in a room, and we had to debate on what's canon and what's not. And so I'm on the Council of the Bat.
Gotcha.
I'm putting that on my resume now.
I'm going to talk about one of your newest short films that is still circulating some festivals, correct?
Yeah, I've kind of put a kibosh on it a little bit. It's not getting the traction I was hoping, but
okay,
it's still playing a little bit.
Okay. How did you get involved with Do You Love Me?
I was looking for a new project, and I had met a young filmmaker. I think she was still in high school at the time, named Valerie Lightheart, and she had a script that she was really excited about. And she asked if I'd read it, and I did. And I said, hey, there's things I really like about this. Have you thought about getting it made? And we talked back and forth a little bit, and came to that I would help her. I would direct it and help her produce and get it off the ground. And I kind of just, at first, it started off as a project funded out of my own pocket, and then I had a couple people step in along the way to help out a little bit. But I just really wanted to direct something, and it became a way bigger project than I was expecting. But there's some things I'm really proud about in that film, and I think all the actors are great. I think I wish it was getting a little more love, but I'm not going to blame anyone for that. It's just, what gravitates to someone is always a mystery. But
well, and films are always kind of a kaleidoscope to some people. Some are just pure art forms as they are, and whatnot. So you can't always blame everyone for what they feel about films.
Oh no, exactly. One film that someone absolutely loves could be, just a boring piece of trash to someone else. I put everything I had into that film, and I think we made something really cool, and it was really audacious too. Like, doing Steadicam work in negative degree weather is impressive.
So I see you were working on part of a TV series on one episode, Mediocrity.
Oh yeah, Nico Aldrich, who I mentioned earlier, he was doing a short web series at one point, and I just did a couple hours of PA work. It's nothing big.
Okay. Cool.
I think it's on my
Awesome.
resume, so I could hopefully get more PA work in the future, which never really panned out.
Totally understand. Well, I appreciate your time and in coming and sitting with me, talking about your film history, or so to speak. I hope you didn't mind at all.
No, man, I don't mind at all. I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. I think that's all the time that we have for today, folks. Unless you have anything else that you'd like to um, uh, uh, say to the audience, or anything, or
I'm gonna
what would you say to a filmmaker that is just starting out?
It's such a cheesy answer, but it's honestly just keep trying because this is such a weird fucking business, man, where you could be doing the same everything right, doing the same thing as everyone else, and the person next to you could get noticed for some completely arbitrary reason. Doesn't mean you're not good, doesn't mean they're better than you or what have you. It's just you never know what's going to click with someone. And at times it can suck. I'll be the first to admit, I don't make much money at doing film, but that's not why I do it. You just got to keep believing in yourself. You're going to have those existential moments of like, why am I doing this? But use that to make something cool.
Awesome. And do you have any websites or anything that you'd like to plug here?
Website's currently down, so not at the moment for that. What I will say is um check out my podcast, The Shameless Picture Show. It's a podcast that I do with my filmmaking and podcasting brother, Nicholas Richards. Um, it's a podcast dedicated to things that you should have seen that you haven't. Everyone's got their own personal shame list of films they feel they should have seen. And, like someone asks you, oh, have you seen The Godfather? And you just nod in agreement, like, yeah, of course I've seen it. It's great. And, hope that they don't ask you any questions. And our whole thing is like, you know what? Be proud of what you haven't seen. And, you don't have to pretend and, open up that dialogue of not having seen things. So we use this excuse to knock stuff off. And, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes. I believe we're on Google Play, but I don't have an Android phone to check. And we're also on Stitcher Radio.
Awesome. And my name is David Strege. I've been your host on Inside Movies Galore. Hopefully, Michael here has had some fun here, and hopefully those who are listening definitely like and subscribe. Also, I am a small-time producer, so definitely check out Wrestle Massacre, which is coming out this year sometime. So definitely have some things in store. Thank you once again. We have had an interview with Michael Viers. Thank you.
You better send me a copy of Wrestle Massacre when it's done.
I will. In fact, I actually have something that I could probably share with you that I am a producer of, called Witch Town, which was actually kind of fun.
All right, send it my way, man.
Will do. Awesome. Well, in any case, we are going to say good afternoon, folks. Okay.